Putting the spotlight on small businesses across America. This is Inside Business with Travis Filing and Gary Tharnish.
And you're listening to Inside Business. Travis Filing, Gary Tharnish. We are just kind of hanging out today, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
Yeah, trying to get to absolutely wonderful, but it might take a while.
Not today. Not today.
Right.
Getting close, but not today.
Yeah. Revenue with no people would be perfect. Let's talk about that.
Well, it's just such a coincidence. Dave is here to tell us how to get revenue without dealing with people.
Man. I've been wanting to meet you forever.
Yes.
This is going to be great.
Well, our guest today is Dave Haring. He was the executive director of the Lincoln Airport. Now he's in Spokane, the CEO of the Spokane Airport.
That's right.
Back in town, and I'm glad we got the opportunity to bring you in here, man.
Yeah, it was just a fluke. Reached out and said, "Hey, if you're not doing anything or you need a guest to pinch hit, I'm there." And so, lo and behold, here I am.
There we go.
Nice.
There we
Way
go.
to do it, Dave.
So many questions because you were on with us. Actually, it was just me. I don't think you were here, Gary.
Yeah, I must have been gone somewhere.
Yeah.
Probably traveling.
Probably.
Yep.
But yeah, last time you were here, we were just kind of talking about the Lincoln Airport, and then you got this opportunity and jumped on it. So tell us about that whole transition, how the opportunity came up, and why this was a fit for you.
Yeah, it was completely unexpected. Like when we talked, I think before, and I think I've been on a couple times where we've talked about the airport, and we're passionate about Lincoln. My family loved it here. I loved it here. It was not something I expected to happen, but we had an opportunity where I was reached out to basically by a headhunting firm, and still was fighting that. Actually, almost pulled out of the search a couple different times, but it was one thing in an interview that the board there is really aligned on staff development, passionate about their team. That aligns with my values, and that really changed it for us. My wife actually said it's one of our favorite stories. And one of the interviews came up, and I said, I kind of bombed the interview. I didn't really like my answers, but I can tell you I'm who they're looking for. And I told her why, and she's like, "Yeah, that's you."
Oh,
and
that's
so
awesome.
Nice. It's just that passion for team and team growth is something that really aligns with what I believe in.
The best I've ever done in any interview was when I'm like indifferent to whether or not I get it, because you're just you.
Yeah.
You're like, this is me, man.
Yeah.
I think it probably attracts people when they're interviewing you, like, okay, this guy's pretty comfortable in his own skin.
Yeah.
You know?
And after you interview people a while, you can read through the BS. I mean, it's almost like trying too hard or just keep it simple. Right. That's very true. I've never really thought of that. Yeah. But it's probably the jobs you really are like, if I get this, it's great. But if not, I mean, we're going to be your most genuine self.
Yeah.
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 I was going to say, I've been blessed, both of the jobs, both here in Lincoln and the job in Spokane. I didn't really need the job. I was employed and was happy where I was at. And you get to do that. You get to just be who you are. You throw humor into it, let your personality shine, and they either want you or they don't.
So are you from Lincoln originally, or?
No, I'm a mutt. I'm all over. I was born
all over.
I was born in Ohio. Lived all throughout Ohio. My family's lived in Pennsylvania since 1990.
Okay.
School in North Dakota, Wyoming prior to here.
Oh, geez. Yeah, you have been all over.
Kind of all over.
Nice.
Steelers fan.
Yeah, Steelers fan. That's right.
So, well, at least you're not a Browns fan.
No kidding.
Sorry, Trav.
No kidding.
That we could go back and forth. Well, I'm a Vikings and Chiefs fan, so I don't know.
Hey,
great. I get the big
you got the Super Bowls, man.
The big So how did you get into doing a job at the airport? What'd that look like? Did you get out of school and go, I want to run an airport?
I actually dropped out of college the first time.
Good for you.
Yeah, I was an accounting and finance major and did not want to be there. And
so have you ever figured out the difference between credits and debits? That's backwards.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's again why I'm not in accounting. So
I love it.
But I dropped out and took some time off and did all sorts of random jobs, bartended, things like that, and decided if I wanted to go back to schools for something I was passionate about. Aviation was one of those. Just always loved aviation. Found out that I didn't want to fly after I got my license. Said this is not sort of what I thought, but I still loved airports. And
so you did get your pilot's license. So you flew quite a bit then. I mean, you have to do that to get that.
Got my license, but just airports is where it was at for me.
I have the funniest airplane story, but this is about
you. So just out of curiosity, because I was on the flying side as well. Does this help you in understanding your job running an airport?
Oh, completely. Matter of fact, one of the things that I tried to do in Lincoln, I'm trying to do in Spokane, is I think every employee at an airport should get a 30-minute intro flight because it helps you appreciate why what we do on the ground is so important to those in the air.
Yeah.
So when you say intro flight, like you mean in the cockpit or really seeing what's going on? Okay.
Yeah. The talking to the air traffic control, watching the workload that a pilot has when they're taking off or landing. I think that's all critical understanding for people that are working on an airport, why the lighting systems are so important, why the markings are so important, all of that.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like you can go, I imagine Silverhawk. Is it still Silverhawk that does the flights? They'll do an introductory flight. It's like $50. You go down and it's do I want to be a pilot? Do I want to go down this road? And they just take you up and they let you throw the plane around a little bit. But that's, you really understand the workload. But I was curious if it translated, because aviation for me in business, it translates a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Just because there's a heavy workload, there's high pressure, and there's ways that, when the engine goes out, you don't have time to play what was made. You got to get down to it, man. You got to get to work.
Yeah.
And so it helped me a bunch in business. So
well, some of the best team members all around in any business are the ones that started sweeping the floor and worked their way out.
Yeah.
And saw every part of it. I mean, it makes all the difference. It makes great sense.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So how long were you here in Lincoln?
11 years.
Because I'm really aware of these sort of things. So it's, I stay on top of that.
Yes.
I did fly out of Lincoln a lot in those 11 years, but I didn't know you were there.
Yeah.
So,
Under the radar.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you moved to Spokane, right?
Yep.
And so bigger airport, smaller airport?
Much bigger airport. So, so Spokane, from a passenger perspective, Lincoln does about 300,000 passengers a year, give or take, total in and out. Spokane's about 4.25 million. And so pretty big. Yeah.
They're much bigger.
Yeah. They're a large, classified as a large, small hub airport, just under being a medium hub.
Okay.
So now when you started, though, you started in Cheyenne, right?
I did.
So you were
even
the
smaller
CEO
than Lincoln.
there. So then you stepped to Lincoln, which was much bigger because Cheyenne's a small little airport. And then, so tell us the difference between the three. I mean, was it just a natural progression to get to a bigger airport?
As I was thinking about this, that was something that's interesting. So fundamentals don't change. I mean, when you're thinking about the management of an airport, the regulatory environment stays the same. The practices that you're doing at the airport stay the same. All that changes as you go through is sort of the volume of issues coming at you changes a little bit. The people management that you're doing changes a little bit. Community sizes change, and every community is different. But the fundamentals of understanding airport dynamics are very similar, and you kind of have to get over that. Like, there was an intimidation factor far more from going from Lincoln to Spokane than there was from Cheyenne to Lincoln. It's a much bigger difference. And you kind of have to overcome that. You have to say, you know what? I know airports and I've been in it for 25 years. It's just another airport, just a little bigger on scale.
Yeah. How many airlines fly in and out of Spokane?
So you're going to put me on the spot.
Well, just
it's at 9, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's bigger for sure.
So tell us about first 90 days. What was the big difference in that first 90 days up there?
Well, I had a very specific plan in the first 90 days, and won't be shocking for what I said in the beginning of this, and that was all internal, all about meeting the team. I actually meet with every team member. I'm still in the process of doing this, actually, one-on-one. They get as long as they need with me. Shortest one of those meetings has been 45 minutes. Longest one has been 2.5 hours.
Okay.
And there's 140 people that I'm working through. And so, but learning about them and those stories, I mean, transition is hard for anybody. It's hard on the person coming in. It's hard on the entity that you're coming into. And so my goal is to kind of remove that intimidation of the title, have everybody just think of me as another member of the team, but most importantly, remove the hesitation that they're experiencing so that we can continue to work together on making the airport better.
Wow. So 140 people. How many do you have in Lincoln?
We were about 85 or so.
Okay. So it's not a huge difference.
No, but Spokane is undersized. And that's one of the things we're working through now is we are on a pretty significant hiring pickup. They're an airport like Colorado Springs, I think, is over 200, and that's a very similar size to Spokane, actually a little smaller.
Okay.
And so not saying that that's where we're going to be, but we're in the process of right sizing. We're actually going to do some strategic planning and figure out where we should be. But yeah, I think 140 is probably still a little small.
Wow. And one thing a lot of people don't understand is, I mean, you manage a lot of property. Like at the Lincoln Airport, I know you have businesses, you were renting, parts of it.
Right.
And is Spokane, are all airports the same?
No, I wouldn't say they're the same. Certainly in Lincoln, it was a huge benefit for the airport, especially during COVID. I mean, that business park here, the industrial park here, makes up 50% roughly of the revenue in Lincoln. Spokane has a smaller business park, doesn't make up. Spokane is much more passenger focused, but still, we can talk about that later. There's some cool things going on within that, but still a critical part of the operation.
Yeah, because I know we had on Mike Rodriguez, he had rented from you guys out there for a while, in Exhaust, and it was such a cool story. And he really talked about you guys helping him out and getting him space, and it's like airports are such a big driver economically that I don't think most people understand that. And I know we're kind of we're getting into the end of this segment, but some point later I want to talk about the economics of an airport and why it's such a big driver for communities. So well, let's run to a break here real quick. You're listening to Inside Business. Travis Filing, Gary Tharnish, talking with Dave Haring, the CEO of the Spokane Airport, and we will have more right after this.
Filing and Gary Tharnish.
And you're back on Inside Business. Travis Filing, Gary Tharnish. We are talking with Dave Haring. See, I screwed up your name instead of screwing up Spokane.
That's right.
But I got that part right. Dave Haring, the CEO of the Spokane Airport, is talking with us. So let's get back into the economic driver of an airport. I think a lot of people really don't understand because they just think it's transportation. It's just getting from here to there. And it's obviously a big part of it. But let's talk about the economic drivers of it.
Yeah, it's funny to me because people, a lot of times you'll hear in communities, Lincoln was true, Spokane, it's true that, well, I don't use the airport. So, I'm not interested in it. And whether you realize it or not, the airport touches every facet of a life in a community. Just because you don't personally fly out of there, maybe you're not flying anymore. One of the top things that site selectors look for any business in the community is connectivity. Connectivity is king, both from a personal perspective, business perspective. Shortens that time for vendors and customers, as well as quality of life. And so just because you don't use it, businesses that locate there drive economic development in the community, drive all of the business enhancements such as restaurants and recreational activities and whatnot. So having a thriving airport is one of the key components of a thriving community.
Well, and think how many products are getting shipped in. They're coming in on airplanes. I mean, everything, even if you don't use the airport, you do use the airport because you're getting goods and services that really the airport is providing.
Has Spokane done a really good, research about how much economic impact there is of the airport? I mean, I know Lincoln was just finished one recently last year, right? Do you have that data? And I bet it's got to be a lot, I would imagine.
Yeah. And most airports are, I mean, just because of that multiplier effect. So I think Lincoln's was somewhere like $1.5 billion. It was over $1 billion annually. Spokane's is in excess of $3 billion annually. And so airports just are such significant drivers.
That's chump change. Good Lord. That's a lot of money. Yeah, that's amazing. I don't think people realize that, it's just like when you get a sports event here, a concert, anything like that, all parts of the city benefit from that. People coming in, it's just an amazing thing. So connectivity is huge. So you said you had about nine airlines maybe that fly in there? I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm still learning.
I'm guessing. So, It's okay. You're a good learner. Anyway, so that's much bigger than Lincoln right off of the bat. And so I was very surprised at how much it takes to get an airline into an airport. So is that something you're looking to expand there? Are you about where you want to be?
So any airport director will always tell you, I don't care how much you have. You are
dumb
always
question.
seeking for more. And we're fortunate there that we've got, I still think one of the best recruiters, air service recruiters in the industry, are the guy that we have. Has been in the industry for a long, long time, used to work for United Airlines, and just is doing a great job of making sure that Spokane, which is a very mature market, whereas, Lincoln, you can have a seismic jump, they just getting Breeze. That's a huge jump for Lincoln. Because there's so many carriers, ours is more of a steady climb. We want to continue to see us mimicking inward migration into the communities. And so grow about 2% per year is what the goal is.
Now, I think on the break, you said something like you're a mid-hub or you're not a hub. So what's that all about?
So airports are classified by hub size.
Okay.
Both Cheyenne, where I started my career, and Lincoln are considered non-hub primary size airports. And it's just by the volume of employments that they put into the national airspace system. Okay. Spokane is a large, small hub. Omaha is a small, medium hub as comparison. So the slot difference between the two is maybe 10 slots. I mean, Omaha might be ranked 65th or so in the country as far as total passengers. Spokane's 73rd, if I remember correctly. So,
okay. Interesting.
I hear a lot of people, especially around election time, you hear somebody's running for the airport authority and they go, I'm going to get Southwest Airlines in here. And it's like,
are you now?
I don't think you fully understand. I mean, tell people how difficult it is because these airlines know. They know Lincoln is here. They know Omaha is here. They know they can land and drop people off whenever they want, kind of. But there's a lot to it.
Well, there is. And I think the thing that's missed is every community out there thinks that they're special, that they demand service because they've got all these people that are flying and the community's hungry for it. But it's not just your community. You're one of 50 communities that are vying for that very expensive asset that the airport, that the air carrier is going to put in there. And so it takes a long process of selling the case to the carrier. And what they want to hear about aren't the numbers. We always do that as airport people. We go to these conferences, we show them the demand, we show them where they could go. They know all that. That's not the stuff that's important. The stuff that's important to them is what can't they see in the numbers? What's happening in your community, either through economic growth, demographic changes, whatever, that they can't see in the numbers, that gets their attention and gets them like, hey, I might be able to corner a market if I drop a new service in there.
And the airport out at Lincoln is amazing now with all the construction.
Yeah, they're doing great now that you're gone.
Yeah, I know. As soon as I was out of there, everything takes off.
Okay, that's not what I meant.
Totally.
That's not
so
what
Travis,
I meant.
you and I should just
Does
talk.
that make wait a minute. Oh my Lord. Okay, so let's see. I'm vying for the job here on the radio show, so I'm just kind of being myself, and this is just going to be what you get. So hang in there. I won't push you out of the plane, so to speak. But does that make a difference? The quality of the airport and where the passengers are going to come are not really a big deal.
So I think it's a double-edged sword. It makes a difference from the ability to handle enhanced capacity. So in the case of Lincoln, we actually expanded from 4 gates to 6 gates, and that was needed because we were at max capacity. So if you had an American or a Breeze or something like that said, yeah, we want to come in, you've got to have someplace to put them. And so that expansion project allowed that. But the other side of that sword, carriers hate expensive airports. So you don't want to create an environment where you do all of this growth and this expansion and then put that on the backs of the carriers. Their fees go up, makes it expensive for them to fly out of there when it might be cheaper them to fly elsewhere.
This is probably a big question, but what makes one airport more expensive than the other?
It's just
the cost of what?
Yeah,
everything.
It's like that. Well, it's just the capital structure that's going on to basically all of the costs that you potentially are putting on the backs of the carriers. Lincoln is a compensatory airport, which means largely they're charging for what they're utilizing. Most small airports do that. Spokane operates under a residual environment, which is it's a little more complicated, but basically says that the air carriers have some involvement in the overall fiscal success of the airport. And Spokane right now is going through a $500 million terminal renovation. And so it's a pretty sizable endeavor.
Oh man,
hi Dave.
You just got done doing a complete airport renovation, and now you get to do it again.
Yeah,
you're the renovator.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Oh,
that's
I do not want to have that.
The renovator.
But that has to be really helpful that you've gone through this process in Lincoln.
It is,
and now you're probably doing it on a much bigger scale.
Yeah, and I think what has benefited me by going through it in Lincoln is a lot of these airports that are doing these have the same plight. Airports are very good at being fiscally responsible with the assets they have and making them last as long as they possibly can. Spokane was the same way. Lincoln was the same way. But you get to a point where if you want to continue to grow the airport in the manner that it should be growing, you have to do some big things. And Spokane is in the middle of doing that. There's some great projects happening there right now that will just really seismically change what we can do from a customer experience perspective for decades to come.
So tell us some of those projects that you have coming.
Yeah, well, so it's similar to what Lincoln did, just like you said, on a bigger scale. We just got done opening up our C concourse. So we're getting close to finishing out our C concourse. I believe that added 9 gates, but also modernized the gates. So did a lot of regional influence. We're also going through a concession program that is bringing in those local restaurants, which is what you always try to do, right? You want to have people that are in your facility know what it's like to be in your community. And so we're doing that. We're just getting ready to start the biggest of the projects, which is kicking off our central hall. This is where it's going to do something very similar to what happened in Lincoln. We have 2 security checkpoints right now. We need to get those united. Those are going to be united in one central hall project. Will probably be about a $330 million project. Again, big rotunda, consolidated baggage areas, consolidated security areas, enhancing that screening program or that concession program. Just really think that it's going to open up a world for us to, our goal is to be, quite frankly, the best airport in the country when it comes to customer experience. And that's what we've talked about as a team. And that's what we're going to be going after.
Nice.
I'll fly into Spokane and drive to Seattle if you have Runzas.
Probably not Runzas. Most people don't know what those are. So.
Yeah, they don't. I know. I love how when people come in, they're like, I'll get out of town clients, and I'll be like, you guys ever had a Runza? We're going to go in. We're out. Yeah. I was like, what is it?
Now, is Spokane international?
It's classified as international. We do not have international service at the moment.
Okay. So how are you classified international? That's interesting to me.
Yeah, it was one of the questions I asked because I normally you're classified as international because you have customs opportunities. So that basically means you have customs service. We can do small customs flights, but we don't have any commercial customs service where like you can't fly from here to wherever, Brazil,
right?
And we just don't have. You'd have to land somewhere else first. And so it's on our long-term plan. We'd love to see at least some of the pre-clear things come in there, but at the moment we don't have that ability.
Wow,
I'm sure. Go ahead.
I really figured there'd be a lot of Canadian flights.
You would, yeah. You
just
would,
because you're so close. And
I was just going to ask that. I was going to be like, how far south of the border is Spokane? I'm sure my chat GPT on my phone's already analyzing for me.
Yeah, not
just
far,
a couple hours, maybe.
Yeah, not far at all. And I know that some of the targets that we're working on, we are actually pretty excited because we just got Alaska. We got Anchorage service, which was one of the ones we were sought after for a little while. So, it's always a battle.
Wow.
Yeah, I bet.
So, what would it take if all of a sudden Air Canada just said, "Yeah, we're coming"?
You have to have the facilities to handle it. You have to have basically what's called an FIS, which is basically a federal inspection facility that allows you to burn international trash and handle all of the other customs operations. You'd also have to have the ability to pay for the team there, the actual customs staff, which is not inexpensive. Especially at an airport the size of
that's not provided by. You'd think that was
it
federal
varies
government.
by the feds. It varies. Like high enough demand, it is. Our case, not as much.
Interesting.
Yeah, that surprises me. I would think it would be provided, I guess, but I suppose beyond enough.
Yeah, but it's kind of one of those things. Like I think you'd be surprised at how many fees and everything else that are involved in everything that goes into an airport. So it surprises me, and at the same time, it really doesn't. So
yeah, it's business.
Yeah,
we looked at it in Lincoln. It was about $500,000 a year just in staffing.
Oh, geez. Whoa.
We should be border agents. Let's become border agents. I kind of like that.
There you go.
You do not want to hire me to be a border agent.
No, definitely don't. Well, I know we got a break coming up here. So when we come back, it's 5 takeaways time. So you're listening to Inside Business, Travis Filing, Gary Tharnish, talking with David Haring from the Spokane Airport, the CEO. And we will have more right after this break.
Travis Filing and Gary Tharnish.
And you're back on Inside Business. Travis Filing, Gary Tharnish, talking with David Haring from the Spokane Airport, the CEO up there. And it's time for 5 takeaways. So this is basically where we get 5 pieces of advice that we hand off to our listeners that they can apply to their business on Monday morning. So what's that first piece of advice that you want to hand off?
No surprise. The most important investments we make as leaders in an organization are in our team.
Yeah.
Whether you're talking about recruitment, training, empowerment, acknowledgement, but the most important thing we give is time. I talked about the meetings I was having, the one-on-ones. People are shocked when they hear that, both the people that I'm meeting with and other people that I talk to. And I say, bar none, it is the most important thing that I will do in starting this role here.
And that would be kind of a shock, really. If you're driving the plow truck in Spokane and the CEO wants to talk to me, why does the CEO want to talk to me?
Yeah. Or custodian or something.
Yeah, whatever.
Although it makes it, I talk to everybody. That might not be a really good thing for some people, possibly. But anyway, my kids would always be like, how many people are coming home for dinner, Dad, from the grocery store? Because I'm talking to everybody. But I think that's a huge thing. That conference we were just at, one of the gentlemen whose company has grown huge, every Thursday, well, there's 30 of them, but it's popcorn, they're going to probably as big as they're going to get. But every Thursday, he brings in or buys lunch, and they all sit down and share a meal. And he just keeps in touch. And he goes, every day, I say hi to each one of them some point in the day. Now there's just 30. I mean, you're not going to do that with, you have what, like 150 or something roughly. But I think that's super cool that you do that. How do those go? Do you like them? Or are you getting to, I think it's really cool to meet everybody.
They're great. And, I've got a list of questions that we go through that are not airport focused. It's just to get, me get to know them get to know me. But the stories that our team has are heart wrenching in some cases, very challenging in some ways, inspiring in others. And that's what you're really trying to get to is who are they? Not only that, the last question I always end with is I talk about some of my history in the industry and the mentors I had. And the foundational belief that I have is that my role in that organization is to ensure that they have the resources that they need to succeed personally and professionally. And I need to know what they need from me.
Yeah, that is so key. I had my business for years before I asked my employees if they have everything they need to succeed. Just assumed they did.
Yeah.
And then we sat down and talked. I was like, oh, I suck. Yeah. I wasn't doing very good. I need to step it up here. But it's very true. That's amazing, right? So then they know you're going to walk alongside them. You're not just pulling them along or pushing from behind. I think that's a really good thing. Man, you got a lot. How long have you been there?
5 months.
5 months. How many employees, how many of them have you seen? Do you know roughly?
105 roughly.
Oh gosh, man, you're busy.
That's
man.
That's a lot of time.
That's cool though. That has to mean so much to them. We've heard studies where employees, everybody wants more money, right? I mean, what's in it for me? I'm trading my time for money. But really what people appreciate way more than money is recognition and knowing that they matter. Right. I mean, no matter what you're doing at the airport, you matter. That's a huge thing.
Valued.
Yeah. I think Rachel was bringing the TSA folks, treats and food and stuff when they weren't getting paid, it's wise. It's just wise.
It really is. It's a good investment.
Yeah.
And did you ever read the book Worst to First? Gordon?
I haven't read that.
I have not.
I'm going to butcher that. I think it's Gordon Bethune, but he took over, I think it was Continental Airlines. And one of the first things he did when he took it over, it'd be a great book for you.
Yeah.
When he first took it over, they kind of had the ivory tower, right? And he said there were these huge doors that kept the executives away from everybody else. And he said, the first thing I did was I bought 2 door stops and jammed them open. Because I wanted these people to have access to us. Because there was always people on the other side of the wall. And it's a division. And I think if you, just like you're doing, go and have these interviews and chat with people, then man, I have access.
Yeah.
And that's massive. That's a great business lesson.
Another thing I like about LNK flying out of there and other, I say smaller airports, your airport isn't small, but compared to Chicago, right?
Sure.
O'Hare or something, is a lot of the personalization of it. When you walk in, somebody greets you with a smile. You feel like you're wanted, That's the book I brought up, Unreasonable Hospitality, that I read recently. That is,
about that.
Have you read that?
It's like my foundational book.
Yes. All right. Yes. Oh, okay. You're getting better as we go along here, Dave. So that, I mean, it's all about restaurant, right? Becoming a Michelin top restaurant in the world was the goal. And they got there. But when I'm reading, I'm like, oh, man, I'm a realtor. What am I? And it's like, I use it all the time. It is like something that just guides me every day. And it really, really makes a difference. When I have buyer consultations or anything, just like when you're meeting with your people, you said the first thing you do is talk about them. How are you doing? What's going on in your life? How, that means so much to people. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I do love about this show is we get so much good information. It doesn't matter what our listeners' businesses are.
Right.
I mean, we can pull out good, pieces of knowledge and you can apply it no matter what you're doing. Running an airport, selling popcorn, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So what's a second takeaway? We probably got to get cooking here.
Yeah, we probably should.
Second one is that growth requires vision, execution, but most importantly, a willingness to fail. This was probably, I talked about how the board there aligned with who I am foundationally. And it was one answer to one question that changed, because I almost withdrew from this search multiple times because we were so passionate about Lincoln. And I asked the question, what is one characteristic that you need from your next CEO that is absolutely imperative? And there was one answer, and the board chair gave that. And he said, we're looking for somebody that will come in, understand how important our team is, empower them, show them how to succeed, but also show them it's okay to fail. That was the quote when I read to my wife, and she said, that's you.
Yeah.
And I believe so deeply in that you learn more from failing. And I'm actually teaching that now as I'm talking to some people that are potentially going to be moving up in the organization. And I'm saying, I'm going to push you and I'm going to want you to find things that fail. I said to try them. and to see how they go. And if they don't work out, that's fine. That's great. And we'll move on from that. So that willingness to fail is so critical to
fear
success.
is the biggest roadblock to success.
Oh yeah.
Always, right? And almost everything we do in our life, your mindset, the doubt, no, you can't, you better not. We tried it before and it didn't work. That one always drives me nuts.
We always did it that way.
Yeah. But what's interesting though is that it isn't always the fear of failure that's the problem. It's the fear of being unsupported by those that you need to be supported by when you fail. So
true, very true.
Like you might be willing to fail, but your worry is that the people that you report to or whatnot aren't going to support you in that failing. And so I have to get out there to the team that I'm here and I'm going to be right beside you when that happens.
And see, I owned a small business the whole time, so it was like that is where the buck stopped. But in a corporation atmosphere, that would be huge, making sure. Well, it was big in a smaller business too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if I failed, everybody at work was like, what are you doing? Or
well, and what do you really learn from the wins? I mean, you learn a little bit, and trust me, I want more wins than I want failures, but the failures are where you learn.
Right.
And I saw a great quote today. It was, you celebrate the wins, but autopsy the failures. Dig through it, man. What went wrong and how can we fix it going forward?
I could see that would be very huge though, Dave, when they said that. Where you would just be like, okay, I get it. That's great. Yeah. It's like they're telling you, hey, we have your back. Yeah. We want you to. That's so cool.
It was putting the team as their top priority that really did it. Like having a board that is razor focused on a team is critical.
So what's a third takeaway?
The importance of partnerships. That partnerships and collaboration drive success. I don't care how isolated or great you feel that you are. You always need someone else for that success. And so in the case of an airport, we work with municipalities, the city and the county. We work with air carriers. We work with vendors, and everybody has to be razor aligned on that vision that you're trying to achieve to really get there. And so, as hard as that can be sometimes, because you don't always agree, right? So a partnership doesn't mean that you always agree in what you're talking about. But I think always being willing to reach out and tie in those partnerships are so critical to the ongoing success of our organization. Yeah.
Definitely. And how many people do you have that just go out and foster those relationships? Because it's got to be a ton.
So, but that's one of the things we're working on now. The way the airport has been structured in Spokane historically is there's only a couple. There's one that's outstanding, and I'm the not so distant future. He's probably on the retirement horizon, but and that's going to be a big loss for our team. But one of the things that I'm working on right now is trying to create more of that across the organization, where it isn't just one or two people. Trust me, you don't want me being the face of the airport all the time. I mean, we got to get other people out in the community, and so is finding people to get engaged, whether it's in their homeowners associations or their local groups or things that they're already doing, but doing it kind of with the power of the airport behind them and spreading that message of the airport, answering questions about the airport and figuring out ways to help us be a better community asset. And so that's so critical for us.
Very good.
Yeah.
What's that fourth takeaway?
All right. Here's your go there. So
reasonable hospitality.
Always delight and surprise customers and never take them for granted. That book. So I got the chance to hear Will Guidara speak at a conference, and that's what I have been looking my entire life for, somebody that embodied how important I feel that the customer experience is. Here in Lincoln, we actually, way back when I had started here, we formed a customer experience committee that was application only. There were 10 people that were selected for that group. It was called VOICE, Visions of Impeccable Customer Experience. And we had a laundry list of things that we were going to put into play here, many of which are now in play at the airport. But the goal of what Will Guidara was talking about and what we want to do in Spokane is that importance of branding and hospitality in anything that you do. We want to, like I said, we want the airport in Spokane to be the gold standard when it comes to customer experience. And you do that by doing all the little things correctly, but also by giving customers that unexpected positive experience that they don't foresee.
Yeah. How many times have you walked through a large airport and everybody working there, it's almost like you're invisible? You know, really no one ever says anything or whatever. And I've noticed at LNK lately, it's just, actually for years, it's different. There's just, I always think of it as, it's just Midwest hospitality, but it's not. It's intentional. Yeah. And that's what really is very important, that it's intentional, and that what your client, what your customers, for you would be customers, are looking for and what they want.
Yeah. One of the things I challenge all of our team with is there's an airport in the Midwest that when you come out of security and you arrive into there, it's sort of going from the unsterile side, from the sterile side to the unsterile side. A member of the airport meets you and hands you a cookie, says, welcome home. And that cookie's made up the road made at a bakery right up the road from the airport. And the thing is they don't know where you're from. But that sort of experience is what they're known for. That's one of those little things. And so I tell our team, like, what's our cookie? What's that thing that we're doing as an organization that is Spokane centric?
A warm towel.
I miss the warm towel.
This is how old I am. When I first rode Midwest Express or Midwest Airlines, they flew to DC and back, and I would go to DC a lot. And I loved you. That's back when you actually got your meal on China with forks and stuff. Yeah. But you would get on and they would give you a warm, you just have gone through.
Yeah, right before you land.
Yeah.
You get the warm towel.
So nice. But anyway, that's cool. I love that. What have you come up with? Anything yet? Or is it just, you're just kind of
right now what we're in the process of doing is, so I believe that these efforts need to be team driven, not from the top down. They need to be driven from within the core of the organization. So we're in the process right now of forming a customer service committee that's team driven by the committee, and their whole goal will be to figure out how to seismically change the experience to align with some of this great new infrastructure that we're putting in place. Yeah,
and also smart, you're bringing the people in that are going to do it. To there's nothing worse than going, we're going to do what? That's never going to work. Have you ever been out here? Like these people push us out of the way or whatever it might be. It makes sense.
But you know what's interesting? I totally forgot about this, but there's a restaurant down here in Lincoln. I think it's Laszlo's, right? Remember they used to have that guy. He was an older guy, and he would go to the tables and just talk to you.
Just see how you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just check in and how you doing. And I thought he owned the place. I really did. Yeah. I mean, he gave you this warm, fuzzy feeling. Yeah. And he would talk with you for 30 seconds or 10 minutes. Yeah. It was kind of up to you, but he was the nicest guy, and it was a cool customer experience. And now that I think of it, once he was gone, we don't go back that. I mean, I still go there once in a while, but he was a big attraction to that.
And one of the keys of you meeting with everybody working there is you will learn. I would think you will find those key people that you're like, you've already mentioned some guy that's probably going to retire soon. So you know what that's like. I have at a trucking company here, there was a gentleman that worked at night, and he took care of all the logistic problems. This truck is not going to be in Seattle in time. This truck is not going to be in Miami in time. He could repurpose it, get it going right. And he just went in at night, 11 o'clock, left at 7 a.m. Very unassuming. Very few people knew him because the other 600 employees worked during the day. And his name was Bob, and he left. Well, he retired. And 3.5 months later, they're having a big staff meeting. They're going, what's going on here? We are missing deadlines. And all the employees kind of walked off, and they're like, well, it's because Bob's gone, And so when I heard that, I go, has anybody told like your manager or the guy further up or the owner of the company about Bob? And that's the problem. Yeah. But there was not a connection from up here on high to the people. So those things are very important.
Yeah, and you got to recognize it.
Yeah, you do.
Before they're gone.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, because there's a lot of knowledge to be passed on from one person to the next. Yeah. And if you miss it, you could miss a whole lot.
Yeah, and I always say just be kind in everything you do every day, because you don't know what anybody's going through. And it can be a lot. Yeah. Right. I shared some stories with you on our trip back, and Shannon was like, oh my God, how did you survive? I didn't even know you were going through that. Well, I'm not going to go every day and go, hey, this is the garbage of my life I'm having to deal with. Right. Anyway.
Well, and before we go on to that fifth one, give that book again, just for the listeners.
Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara.
Okay.
Yeah, it will change your life.
It does.
All right.
I agree. God, good for you. I'm sorry. Does that go out when I hit the table? Bam! Good job.
And what's that fifth piece of advice we want to hand off?
The last one, and it kind of circles back to team just a little bit, but just a realization that a leadership change impacts every level of your organization. I think sometimes we as leaders, when you have a change, you tend to focus on those that directly report to you or your board or something like that. And understand that when you come in, that hesitation that exists, people are waiting for you to set that tone of the organization. It doesn't mean that the tone that existed prior was wrong. It just means that it was different. I'm still learning that a little bit, even being in Spokane now, just for 5 months, is that it hit me just a week or two ago where I said, you have been telling me that this is how things were, and I wasn't getting it. Now I understand what you kind of need from me to start pushing us in a direction. So I think just that realization that a leadership change impacts everybody beyond those that you just see every day.
Yeah. And everybody wants it to be successful. Everybody wants it to be good for the most part. So it's really important. And I love what you're doing. Just meeting with people. It's fantastic.
So, making sure people know that they matter at every level is just huge. And it's so, I don't want to say simple, because it takes work and concentrated effort on your part, but it matters so much to everybody when they're like, wow, this new guy cared about me and my family and what we're doing. I mean, it's huge. And they buy in even more.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to work someplace where they think it's going to fail or it's family and they're just hanging out till it's over.
Yeah,
exactly.
Cool. I kind of want to fly into Spokane now. I don't know why.
Where's the? I just want to know where the warm cookie is. I want to fly in there. What airport is it?
Yeah. By the way,
it's not one of your competitors. Is it?
No, actually, it was one of my mentors. It was Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Okay.
Nice. I'm not
That's pretty cool. Do they still do it?
I would assume they do. I actually don't know that. Yeah,
that's pretty interesting. We'll have to reach out and see. I'm curious.
Field trip. You can do a field
let's
trip.
go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Inside business on the road.
Well, we've got to head to a break here. You're listening to Inside Business. Gary Tharnish, Travis Filing. We're talking with Doug today from the Spokane Airport, which is great. Or David. David. Sorry, David. I do this all the time. Anyway, Chad, I am so glad I've met you.
Yeah,
we'll be back shortly with Brett and Tom.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe. Or somebody else. Where did I get that?
Travis Filing and Gary Tharnish.
Welcome back to Inside Business. I'm Gary Tharnish, co-host Travis Filing, and we're speaking with Dave today from the Spokane Airport. Dave used to be with us here at L&K for a long time, but now you're up in Spokane. And this segment right now is called The Unexpected Impact. And we've all had that in business somewhere, right? Or in life or in general. What's something that was an unexpected impact for you that you had to overcome?
I don't think that there's been something that's been overly unexpected. I think it's all part of that process that we talked about earlier about me going from sort of a smaller airport to a bigger airport. So just the volume of information that I'm having to process and absorb, and you get frustrated. You want to be an asset right up, hit the ground running, be an asset to everybody right off the bat. And sometimes I feel that I'm the one that's holding folks back. And so there's some frustration factor there that's been just part of a learning process as part of this job.
Well, and you were saying on the break, just the sheer amount of meetings that you have compared, just because it's 150 people versus what you had here, that alone would be.
Yeah, it's one of the things I find is that you get into this environment where because things are my time has become so sort of scheduled that you'll have team members that, hey, I just need 30 minutes of Dave's time. Can I, they'll go to the assistant, she'll throw 30 minutes on, I pop in there. I very much feel like you imagine a doctor feeling when they're walking down the hallway, checking on, knocking this one, do the thing, go to the next one, do the thing. And so there's been some adaptation on that, and just making sure that you're always in the moment, you're always processing what's going on. And then I have to learn how to be a little bit more organized than I think I perhaps was.
Oh, I could not do your job.
I couldn't either.
I could not do your job.
So one question I have, when Lincoln kind of went through this little time, it felt like it was in quicksand, right? It was just one unlucky hit after another. We had lost a couple of routes. We lost an airline. And talk about that. And the other question I have is the difficulty of not being able to go, gosh, there's some great stuff on the horizon, because you can't really share that. You just kind of have to take the hits.
Right. Yeah. And it goes back to that belief that I share, is that failure provides a roadmap for success. And you have to remind everybody of that. Like, and I'll say, we sometimes avoid saying Redway, but when Redway failed, we were very quick. We were disappointed. We were upset, but we also said Redway failing that doesn't help things per se, but this will come back to give us some things that will help us succeed in the next endeavor. And that's exactly what happened. The data that was provided by Redway allowed us to pursue leisure carrier focused opportunities such as Breeze. And so I think you always have to remember and always have to keep that failure mindset, that in every failure, there is a silver lining and an aspect of success that you can take from it. And you have to stay razor focused on that, because what you don't want to have happen is you don't want a team to fail at some endeavor and then stop trying. Yeah. And then say, no, we've achieved everything we can do. We can't take risks anymore. We're going to stop. Because then you stagnate. And so
it can be devastating in a way. I mean, just personally, you think all this work you went into, that happens. My dad always said, it's not the mistakes you make in life, it's what you do about them. So it's not the failures that you make in life, but it's like, what were the lessons? And then also not only what were the lessons, but what were the blessings in it?
Yeah.
If you look for that too, it's a grateful attitude, grateful approach. It helps you succeed the next time. Yeah. And I know Rachel's talked a lot about that with the lessons learned from Redway and what that information and what that data told you moving forward. I mean, it's a great way to look at things.
Yeah.
And some people don't. I mean, I've had people hang on to failures I had periods in my life where I hung on to failures.
Oh yeah. We all do that.
Yeah.
Well, and
I'd look at in the mirror in the morning and go, you stay here.
Yeah.
And for our listeners in other markets, Redway was an airline that kind of came in and it just didn't pan out. It was here, it was gone in like, it was about
10 weeks.
Yeah, it was pretty quick.
Yeah.
It was pretty quick.
Not that I'm counting.
But on the opposite side of that, it's like once that happened, things really started clicking for Lincoln Airport.
Yeah, that interesting how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that had to be tough to walk away from because you guys were firing on all cylinders.
I think the thing that made me happiest is, I wouldn't say happy. Like I said, I still have a lot of, what did I call it? Heart equity in the community.
Yeah.
Just we're so passionate and believe in what the airport is and how great this community is. And so I was pleased that when I left to pursue the opportunity in Spokane, that we were able to get a new carrier across the finish line before I left. That, you always want to try to leave an airport better than you found it. And so I think we did that in a lot of ways, not the least of which is the team that's in place there now. I was very, similar to how I was in Spokane. I was immensely proud of the team and how we responded in Lincoln as well. That was a hard time for all of us. And everybody had to kind of, take their punches as we went through it. And so being able to say that you went through that together, you've emerged on the other side with an airport that is truly thriving.
Yeah.
You should have just called me. I had it all figured out.
I
had it all figured out. I've never flown a plane, but dude, I knew what right. That's the other hard thing too, when you're in such a public spotlight, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a whole nother thing to deal with. In your position, it's like you're the go-to guy, right? And for the public and everything.
Well, and sometimes, like I was on the Houston flight way back when I think it was American that used to have the Houston. Was it American?
United.
Oh, United. And then they pulled that flight and I'm like, wait a minute. That was like,
and they were full.
I mean, they were full every time. And sometimes, I would imagine it's a lot of airlines. They're struggling to find pilots. They're struggling to find airplanes. And so sometimes things get pulled.
I always, when it's working. My son and daughter-in-law and 3 kids live in Concord, California. So I always loved the direct flight from Omaha to SFO. It was great. And it was always full. And they pulled it. And I've until I've talked with you and then Rachel, now that I'm kind of going, okay, I'm understanding it more. But at the time I was like, what a dumb business decision. Who's running these airports? I mean, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's a big part of it.
Well,
so why does that happen?
Well,
I'm actually curious.
There is such a massive pilot shortage that I still, and it's probably been about a year since I've gotten a phone call, but I used to get phone calls probably 3 or 4 times a year.
You told me about
going, do you want to get back in the game? And it's it's been 20 some odd years since I've flown an airplane. I'm dangerous.
Why is that, by the way?
There's just, so back in the 90s when I was flying, there was so many pilots. I mean, it was just, they were everywhere. My first job, I actually paid the cargo company $10 an hour to fly for them. So that's how upside.
So you could get hours.
Just so you could get the experience. Well, what happened was late 90s, early 2000s, there was a massive glut of all those, Vietnam era and coming out of World War II era pilots, and they were gone, and nobody was getting into the game. And then all of a sudden, once COVID hit and they came out of COVID, it was like there were no pilots and lots of airplanes to be moving. Yeah. And it was a massive impact.
We have a friend who's going their son is going through training to be a pilot. And in my mind, I just always thought, you go in the Air Force, you fly, and then you become a pilot. I mean, that, from the 60s and 70s where I grew up, that seemed how it was, all the time. And I mean, it's crazy the benefits and what he's getting which would make sense. They need pilots really bad. So you're going to work hard to get them.
Yeah. And it's scary because it's going to ebb and flow because there's such a shortage. Now everybody's starting to get into it. So is there going to be a massive amount that at some point when there's an economic slowdown, everybody's getting furloughed again? Because that's what happened to me. That's what happened to all of us back in the late 90s. We were all getting furloughed. It's like,
it's crazy. My
uncle flew for Airborne Express and he got to a point where, he was high up. He was a utility pilot. So he was typed in 4 or 5 different aircraft. And before too long, he went from a captain of a DC-8 all the way down to a co-pilot on the DC-9, which is a massive jump. And I go, hey, how long until this is going to affect you? He goes, if they cut one more pilot, it's me.
Yeah.
So do you have FedEx or UPS or any of those cargos that fly in?
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's pretty much Omaha for Nebraska. And I suppose every state has their, well, it would depend population, obviously, but that's got to be a big thing too.
Yeah, cargo is huge, and I know that's something that Lincoln has been trying to pursue for a long time.
Sure.
I tried to do it while I was here. I know that my predecessor tried to do it. Getting cargo at an airport is kind of a critical, that's probably the one thing that Lincoln is missing to really kind of complete the full airport picture, if you will. They've got non-aeronautical revenue, they've got commercial air service, they've got a thriving general aviation component. They just don't have cargo service, and that's been a hard nut to crack.
Well, which is crazy because we have the like Polar, that are flying 747s, these big airplanes. We're smack dab in the middle of the country. You got a runway that's long enough to handle them, and you have the space to build the facilities to handle it. And it just seems like such a slam dunk. But I imagine there's a lot of complications that we just don't see.
What we were told when we were pursuing it is that you have to have the native volume, this pure volume of shipping from your community. You can justify all the regional stuff you want, but you've got to have the volume coming out of your community specifically to really get someone's attention on cargo.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes complete sense, obviously. Well, we need to head to a break here. So that's been a great segment. When we come back, the segment's going to be This Needs an Adjustment. Maybe that's it. We need to adjust to more freight.
There we
go. Less full airplane. Some people going to San Francisco. Anyway, we'll be right back. You're listening to Inside Business. Stick with us.
With Travis Filing and Gary Tharnish.
And you're back on Inside Business. Travis Filing, Gary Tharnish, talking with Dave Haring, the CEO of the Spokane Airport. And this needs an adjustment. So this is that one thing that you had going on at an airport or wherever in your career that you just needed to make a major adjustment, a major shift. What was something that happened to you that needed a course correct?
Wow, I kind of isolated that to Spokane. Opening it up across would take me a little bit more time to think about. But if I think about Spokane specifically, and I always try to stress that when you make a major change, that doesn't necessarily mean that something was right or wrong. It just means it's not your preference. It's not what you do. And in our case, what was pretty obvious in Spokane is that we needed to find new ways of communicating. I mean, communication. Heck, you're in communication. Yeah. You know how important it is, and so. So we needed to figure out a way. We had a lot of silos going on, and we wanted to find a way to sort of enhance communication across the spectrum. Predominantly because I mentioned earlier about talking about the board wanting to empower team members. Well, you're finding that you had communication sort of blockades, and then we really didn't have a good, strong structure of guardrails up to sort of say, hey, here's your guardrails. Now go, be creative, figure out a way for us to do things better. And so we're kind of in the process of working through that now. It's probably going to be largely through a strategic planning effort that's going to be very comprehensive within the community, similar to what was done here in Lincoln just not too far ago. But I think that's probably the biggest thing that we're working on up there right now.
Oh, very good. So let's talk a little bit about a lot of people. When you look at the airport, you look at, are you managing a public asset or is it more like running a business, right? I mean, it's got to be more like running a business, I would think.
So I thought about this and I was like, okay, but I kept going back and forth. And I think, so airports are mandated, federally funded airports, of which Lincoln is, Spokane is, most airports are. We take money from the federal government to help us with our critical infrastructure, runways, taxiways, things like that. Government or airports that are federally funded have a mandate to be as self-sustaining as possible. Well, that defines running it as a business, right? Mm-hmm. So, figuring out, what your income is and what your revenue needs to be and what your expenses are and all that. The problem is, and where you kind of have to take a step back, is we're still a governmental entity, and we're still bound by all of the regulations and rules of local, state, federal government. And I think there was a stat somewhere that I saw one time that aviation itself is regulated second heaviest to only banking.
I believe that.
I believe that for sure.
Yeah,
and that sounds like a lot of fun.
Well, but it creates roadblocks in being able to operate as a business.
Course.
Private business can pay certain ways, with bonus structures and things like that. We can't do that. There are, I listed a couple of things at one point when I was looking through, but I can't think of all of them. But it was, there are just challenges that exist so you have to kind of run it by both. You have to find how you can find that balance between running it as a pure business that is focused on profit. We're also nonprofit by definition. Yeah. So, I mean, all the money that is gained has to stay within the confines of the airport. And so yeah, it's a challenge to figure out which one of those. I probably lean more towards the business side of things, but you definitely have to be cognizant of the public asset as well.
But it's tough too, because you always have to be a good steward of the taxpayers' money, right?
Although we're fortunate. Lincoln, I know, obviously has a property tax now. We did that when we were going through to fund the terminal project. Spokane is unique. Spokane is fully self-sustaining. They take no money from the city or the county or taxes, and they're fully self-sustaining in that regard. Very proud of that fact. And so when we're talking about how we're doing these large projects, $500 million Trex project, we've been very fortunate to get some money through some of the governmental programs, certainly ones that came out to try to spur development after COVID. But we're also bonding. I mean, there's some debt going on there. It's the first time the airport's taken debt in quite a long time. So, but we're also very proud of the fact that we're self-sustaining.
Has it always been that way? Is it, as far as you know?
To the best of my, certainly in the near future. I couldn't tell you going back in history if it has been, but certainly for the most recent history, it has been.
That's kind of surprising, really.
It is. Yeah. And on another note, I'm kind of curious about your relationship with the business community. Is it real strong there? And kind of talk to that a little bit.
It is. That's been one of the things that's been cool is obviously I've been very focused since I started on internal. And so I'm just now starting to get a little bit more out external into the community. But every business leader that I've met, whether you talk about chamber leadership or individual businesses, one of the first things they talk about is how important the airport is to the community as a whole, as an economic driver. Last week before I came here, I actually gave a brief speech on just a status update of the airport to the West Plains Chamber of Commerce. So it's one of the other things that's unique is that there's multiple chambers of commerce in and around the Spokane area, as opposed to here, sort of the core chamber. But I gave a speech there, and we talked about the economic driving of our asset. And so I mentioned earlier that we have about a $3 billion annual economic impact in the community. And that, again, stressing that is done without taking any public money per se for an operational basis. And so we were able to get grants and then fund all of our operations internally.
That's incredible.
It is. It really is. I would love to see all airports need that, right? Yeah. I mean, they just need to know that. And again, I think sometimes it's just that you don't know what you don't know, right? Yeah. And it's easy to just think of the airport as, for me, obviously not for you or for you because you're a pilot, but for me to think, I go there, I get it on a plane, and I fly to see my grandkids or fly, and you don't think much beyond that. And I really haven't actually until I started this radio show. I remember somebody in politics said, you need to get your feet wet first. Just run for the Lincoln Airport Authority. And I was like to myself, I don't know diddly about the airport. I mean, I just always want to make sure I get up and down and safely, know? So, but anyway, and I think probably a lot of airports need more of that, so it's kind of cool that you've already got that built in there. It sounds like, anyway, the business community's really bought into it.
Yeah. And I think it's tough too, to educate the public how important it is, because you can't really use funds to run a marketing campaign and go, we're important and we're using your money to tell you how important we are. Yeah. Because that would twist me up, but at the same time, how do you get that message out to people and go, this is really important?
Right. Well, and we were talking about how that public asset versus government. You just hit on another one, is that even an entity such as Spokane or Lincoln prior to the terminal project that did not take public tax money and didn't receive subsidies, all of the airport's money by definition is public money. And so you're still bound by the laws as if they were tax money, even though you're generating all of those internal to your organization.
Yeah. Man, that's tough.
Yeah.
So a lot. Here's a question I have for you, and it'll probably come out of nowhere, but when you stepped into this role, obviously you took over for somebody. Yeah. And what was something that maybe that person had done that was different from you, but was really good? Kind of oh man, I never did it that way. This works.
Well, I would say so. Larry Crowder was the predecessor in Spokane, and Larry was one heck of a planner. I mean, his ability to, he's really been the driving force on a lot of what has taken place in the airport. We haven't even touched on the fact that the airport also just developed I think it was $25 million rail to truck transload facility in their business park. One of the biggest ones between Seattle and Minneapolis. And so his vision on seeing that, his vision on putting the infrastructure and the funding in place to do the terminal project. Larry was one heck of a planner. I actually think that was his foundational background, as he came from a planning background. And so, airports have consultants that a lot of times operate that, to assist with that and that visioning. He just had it. And so pretty much all the growth that has taken place at the airport recently has been due to that vision. And so he did an outstanding job of that. And I was blessed to kind of walk in to the middle of that.
And that's cool. That's to be able to learn something too and go, man, this is a great way to do this, and kind of put it in your quiver, so to speak. And is it tough to wrap your arms around that project, that planning side of it, and go, this is a lot to learn?
Oh yeah. And as a matter of fact, I mean, he was, one of the questions that was asked in my interview was how's my ego? And it was because he is such a big shadow in that community and what he's been able to do at the airport. And so, yeah, having the time right now to understand what all is going on. But that was one of the changes that I had to get used to is, you can do two schools of thought when you come into an organization. You could pause everything and say, hey, let's wait. Let me see what I think of this. I think that kind of inherently sends a message of distrust that I don't trust.
Yeah, it would for me.
And so I am much more of the, all right, you guys are going to continue to move upward, and I'll catch up as everybody's continuing to accelerate.
Alongside everybody.
You got it.
Make sure they have everything to succeed. You talked about it earlier. That's fantastic.
Yeah, because this organization has been successful. You're on a positive trajectory. The last thing we're going to do is me come in here and go, stop everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's got disaster written all over it. Well, we have a break coming up here, and when we come back, I want to talk bigger picture. So you're listening to Inside Business. Travis Filing, Gary Tharnish, talking with David Haring from the CEO from the Spokane Airport, and we'll have more right after this.
With Travis Filing and Gary Tharnish.
And we're back for the last segment. This goes so quick, doesn't it?
It does fly. Yeah.
It does
fly. Look at
there you go.
Well done.
I know. Thank you. Always trying to add a little entertainment there.
Well, you're listening to Inside Business. Travis Filing, Gary Tharnish, talking with David Haring, CEO of the Spokane Airport. Let's talk about what's on the horizon for Spokane.
We just had our third consecutive year of passenger growth, and that has been outstanding. As a matter of fact, one of the questions that came here recently was like, have you guys returned to pre-COVID levels? Oh, we've blown past that. And so third consecutive year of passenger growth. We're continuing to see growth as we started this year. And so I think continuing to stay on that track, we work closely with our partners in Coeur d'Alene and throughout the region. And so we're excited to see that growth continuing. Obviously, that ties right in very well to what we're doing with respect to the terminal project.
So what's driving that?
Inward migration. So we've had, we see growth in the region of about, I think it's like 2 to 4%, 2 to 3% per year.
Okay.
And that's about what we're seeing the employment's growing by. That's what it was last year. I think we grew at 2% last year. And so you want to see that in a community. You want to kind of mimic what that inward migration is looking like. And we're successful at doing that right now because all of the carriers, because most of the major carriers are already there. You're not going to see that same sort of seismic shift that you would see in Lincoln by, announcement of American or Breeze or something like that. We just want to see capacity. We want to continue to see capacity growth, larger aircraft, enhanced frequencies, things like that.
How big is the area you draw from?
It's it's massive. Yeah. I think the MSA there it's like 1 million plus passengers potential, but a lot of that has to do. One of the things we talked in Lincoln about all the time was Omaha's proximity is what is driving Lincoln's cap, and everybody should not, when in Spokane, you're not going to drive across the mountains to Seattle. That's a 4 or 5 hour drive. You're not going to drive down to Boise. So for the most part, our market is captive, and that's why we're able to have 4.25 million total passengers a year.
And Coeur d'Alene's not a very big market.
No, but it's a growing recreational market. They are actually one of our best partners because that recreation, you're seeing people fly in. Most of our traffic traffic that comes in. I think something like 60-70% of our traffic is leisure, and it's a lot of people coming in and going over to the Idaho Panhandle, going up to Sandpoint or Coeur d'Alene or things like that for recreational purposes.
Wow. How far a drive is that? Is that about an hour or so?
Well,
it's a little further than
Coeur d'Alene is only like 30 minutes. Sandpoint, those are a little bit longer, maybe an hour. I am not by any means yet up on my geography of the region, so
that's okay.
You barely have time to leave the airport, I'm guessing.
Exactly.
But do they have a commercial airport there?
They don't.
No, they don't.
We are Northern Idaho's commercial airport, and that's we just went back to DC and talked about that with our delegation, saying that not only are we Eastern Washington's commercial airport, we're Northern Idaho's commercial airport, because Boise kind of has the cap on the south, and then we're in the
I'll be darned.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't even think I made the assumption that Coeur d'Alene would have an airport because it's a state capital, right?
I think Boise is. Is it?
Is it?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll all look at it right now.
We're all looking dumbfounded at
we
each
did
other.
really good on that. Yeah. Where's ChatGPT when you need it?
Yes, right. Oh man. So let's talk about cargo a little bit.
Yeah.
So you guys have cargo carriers up there, obviously. Is it a big part of the airport for you guys?
Yeah, I would say it's that's a thriving enterprise as well. And it's also one of the reasons that when I talked about the rail to truck transload facility, when you are putting pieces together to entice business either to the airport or just to the community, the interlinking of those pieces is what makes it so critical. We talk about the rail to truck transload. We have air cargo already. We were right along the corridor of I-90. So you can start putting those pieces together as you're going out and selling packages to site prep and things like that. So yeah, the cargo activity is definitely key for us.
And what exactly is the rail to
So on the west side of the airport, it's basically the ability. So rail to truck transload, obviously, as it sounds, it's a probably a logistics. I would kind of define it as a logistics operation at best. Has the ability to handle really any kind of cargo or payload that rail carriers come in. One of the biggest challenges you have right now are driver availability on the roadways, and so this allows things to come in by train, offload from the train, put them on the cargo, and then travel really east or west in that region. It's like I said, I think it's like 7,000 or 10,000 linear feet of track. It's a BNSF certified site. And was really a great partnership for us to see that. Just came online. We just signed a contract actually with a short line carrier to really operate that. So we're excited to see where that's going to go. We think it could have a significant impact on our ability to attract business on the West Plains.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So do you have like a separate cargo facility, or is it all part of the main airport there? Because I think when I flew out of DIA, that we had a separate cargo facility.
There's a separate cargo. Like they're not coming through the terminal or anything like that. They've got their own area cargo operations. And so it's going through their own zone.
I kind of figured as much, but like when we flew cargo through Cheyenne, it was all the same terminal.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All right, that's fair.
Which wasn't much of one.
No,
but I loved it. It was a cool airport. So is there anything else on the horizon that you see coming for Spokane?
I think a lot of our focus, certainly in the coming years, we've got, we like any airport. Airports are always under construction. It seems like just like roadways, we've got a significant parking project coming up. We're going to be enhancing it all kind of ties into it's called TREX, Terminal Renovation and Expansion Project. So I think Central Hall, parking project. We've got some runway work that we're going to be working on. We're continuing to work with, our air carrier partners to see if there's a way to enhance their operations there. We always, look at opportunities, whether you're talking about maintenance bases or things like that. So I think we're always looking for what that next growth factor is. But Trex is going to keep us busy for a little while. The big thing that we're doing over the summer is the strategic planning effort. That'll be a very comprehensive strategic planning effort that really helps chart what you just asked about for the next 5 years or so.
Very good. So just changing gears, we got about 2 minutes left. So what is a piece of advice maybe you would hand off to somebody who's stepping into a bigger role, right? Because that's got to be difficult.
Yeah. And that was one of the things that I had to get over. And so there were a couple of things I actually thought about. One of them is be wary of personal extremes. Don't come in with an ego or air of I know more than you, but also be wary of imposter syndrome. You're there for a reason. Yeah. And so make sure you have sort of that quiet confidence. I talked about fundamentals not changing. That's a key thing to remember to kind of keep you grounded. And then the most important thing is that the team that you're joining is your heartbeat. And so just make sure that you focus on them.
Very good. That's great advice.
It is very good advice.
Very good advice. I'm just kind of going through my list of questions here. I think we hit them all.
Yeah,
man, this has been a lot of fun.
You're a good guest, Dave. On a scale of
Yeah,
1 to 10, you're a
I
10.
appreciate
so
that.
good job. Thank you so much.
That's done to you.
Makes a big difference. No, don't worry about it, Brad. So you're gonna take us out, Tom?
Yeah, why not? Well, that was it. So let's thank you guys for listening. Thanks for just checking us out. I think this was a fun episode.
Yeah, it's great.
It really
I love
was. So you're listening to Inside Business. Travis Filing, Gary Tharnish. Dave, thanks for coming in and chatting with us.
I enjoyed it. Always do.
Yeah. Next time you're in town, give me a call. And if we don't go golfing, we'll have you back on the radio.
I'm on it. Sounds great.
Right. Have a good one.